시계 쓰니까.
So for any event where you see a peak here in front of one, you calculate the overlap divided by union as a fraction of how much there. Okay? So similarity coefficient your card, that's whatever you want to call it. But then you use those relationships to cluster across stations. It doesn't really matter what this analysis of the method of clustering does that. We wind up with a set of clusters almost 2 million strong. But then the interesting thing is we wind up doing around there. This is why we need record tests. So I just clustered naively to one state, same different so on. And then I just say, okay, well, if I have a cluster, and my clustering algorithm has decided these guys are all the same, if it's biologically plausible, then I should see that it's accessible in both stations, in both replicates, and not accessible in both replicates. Right? Straight up replicate reproducibility. And you see that that's a bad cluster in this cartoon, and that's a good cluster. So it's always either accessible or not accessible. And so we can just apply a really simple filter. It turns out you can write down basically a biological freedom test that explains that, and anything that features really weak nominal filter classes, about 54% of the clusters that we define pass this level. So we wind up with about 1 million clusters. We think that part of it is because there may be, the clustering algorithm isn't sort of quite as sensitive as we need it to be, and part of it is because maybe some of the features replicate. Probably 8% of the genome, so 14% of the genome, and then you get stuck, and you say, okay, well, why is this not just crappy analysis? And so we went back to GWAS and thought, okay, I know that the CHS peaks are enriched for GWAS. If the subset of clusters that I'm picking up is actually biologically plausible, they should also be enriched for that GWAS signal. And so going through the latest NSGWAS, just the heritability analysis of our clusters in blue versus all of the CHS peaks in red, and basically we recapitulate all the heritability. And of course, all of this disappears, so we capture most of the meaningful heritability information in the subset of clusters. So our analysis goes. So basically, we can wind up doing this thing here. So here's what happens when you run this on this model. You have a region of the genome. I'm showing you 2 megabases now. You have 7 pairs of maps. Of the immunochip that I've shown you before. This is for fetal disease risk. That's a 10 to the minus 30 p-value. This is a association. These are all the genes in the region. It winds up that when you run this model, you wind up with a single DHS. We already have a great coordinate system, so we just label them arbitrarily in terms of numbers, but it's just, it's a 250-base pair, which is DHS accessible. And it explains a lot of the signal. If you then do the correlation, this guy is correlated with exactly one gene, ETS2. And if you look at how strong the correlation is, this is every gene in the region that kind of survives the analysis. If you look at these little plots here, they're kind of like modified dot plots. Blue is the expression level of this gene when the DHS is not accessible, and orange is when it's accessible. You can see here there's no real correlation between accessibility and expression level. And if you look at ETS2, there's quite a nice correlation between those two, 6. Okay? And that's what drives this relationship. And so ETS2 looks like a sort of competitive candidate here, not just because the most associated SNP lands in the DHS, and I find DHS interesting, but because I can put it on the posterior probability of that this actually formally figure how it's synthesis. If you run this on other sides, I'll just talk through these. This is a really interesting locus for multiple sclerosis. It's the CD58 locus on chromosome 1. We are reasonably sure through a variety of strands of evidence that CD58 is relevant here. And so when you do the same thing, you get 2 DHSs. The picture is a little bit more complicated, but clearly the strongest gene that comes out is CD58. The shading can be hard to interpret, but it kind of helps it visually. What's really interesting is that CD2 is CD58's binding partner. CD2 doesn't really have any strong evidence, so I may even be unsure which one of these 2 DHSs is actually driving risk, because this one has a little bit of evidence. But this is very clear because they're both correlating, so that's useful to know. And if you look at the expression levels, again, for CD58 versus CD2, CD2 just is clearly differentially expressed in different cells, but it's not really got very much to do with these 2 DHSs. Again, I won't go into this too much, but you can go through many so we can do this is the RNA, locus RA, so it's ideal. And so when you run this over 9 diseases across 2 of those and then DHSs, here's a quick summary of how this one's going. These are now different diseases down here. This is the number of DHS clusters that are in a locus, and this is the number of genes that are potentially in a locus. So for primary biliary sclerosis, primary biliary cholangitis, you start with 1,000 odd DHS clusters in the region. By the time you run the model, you wind up with something like 3 per locus. So it's a log scale. So doing this narrows down across all diseases the number of DHS you need to consider by stage factor. So even if you don't want to be agnostic and look at all of them experimentally, this is now feasible in a way that it wasn't before. In the same way as if you're thinking about possible candidate genes, if you run the model, you go from 20 odd genes to 3 per locus across a 200 cycle disease, and that kind of replicates across diseases. So the bar graphing actually works. You prioritize genes fairly cleanly, even if you can't identify a single gene, which we can in about half the cases. If you now look at how much of the risk in each locus is explained by DHS, identifying DHS doesn't matter if they actually don't explain a lot of the risk. There will always be a best score in DHS, it doesn't mean the best score is a good score. Okay? So we find most arbitrarily all of the risk is on DHS. The median is something like 20 to 25%, which is on something like 0.02% of the space on the locus. So that's an enrichment. But about half of the loci have more of the risk explained by DHS than not by DHS. So very clean regulatory potential, and it kind of depends on what which of these you want to do. And similarly, in the posterior per gene, you find that a lot of genes score very cleanly and very strongly, suggesting that they are the top pathogenic candidate. What's really interesting is if you take the DHS that we prioritize and you cross them with an analysis that John and Amorano just published on whether or not variants in those DHS cause differential accessibility, you find that the DHS that we find are much more affected by SNPs in terms of accessibility than not. So it looks as though there's also a functional effect. And as you'd expect, all of these things are predominantly present in the immune cells in question we looked at, and not in those of the rest. I'm just giving a this particular paper, I will teach you with one little tool. Here's the numbers again that I showed you before. The part 2 of this, that is the substantial for the number of diseases. This is the MS data. When you run the model, you find that single DHS prioritizes GNDN1, even though all of the association is in the velocity atomic clock 2. The correlation is nice and clean with MDM1. There's some correlation with MDM2, but there are fairly samples to behave this way. And I expect you to read this, but I will leave you with this idea that there's association that is very strong across 5 diseases for this focus. We run the model independently on 5. In 4 of the 5, we identify MDM1 as very clearly the prioritized gene. In IBD, it looks different. It's almost sort of the association in IBD is dramatically different to the others, and that prioritizes MAP3, 6, 7. And when you do this across all of the loci that have, if you look across all diseases for loci that have associations with more than one disease, you find that although the most associated SNPs are generally not the same in any pairwise comparison, when you prioritize genes, you actually start seeing a much more frequent overlap. And the difference between these two is actually quite significant. It's just about a free p-value. And so we think that by doing this, we think that the association data is actually menacing. If you like that idea, so the individual SNP you identify as the most associated is at the mercy of vagaries of sample size and the specific sample population. You see, we understand this, we understand that's how genetics works. When you start prioritizing individual functional elements of genes, you start seeing a more stable pattern coming through. So when you look at the shared association, and we know that these diseases are comorbid, when you start looking at shared associations across diseases, you tend to identify the same genes. And so by tying this up, I think we can actually increase our confidence that we identify genes that are relevant to the disease. And I think we're going to realize how timely human cost is for a lot of these genes. And chasing down rabbit holes almost makes a lot of sense with that idea. Maybe chasing down the right genes that have a more evidence across diseases is a good place to start. And I will leave it there, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Did you find anything specific about each of the genes with respect to the SNP? That they were cis-different or not close by or close by?
Good question. That's a great question. I promise I can follow up that question, but thank you for asking it. Yes, we do. It's generally not close to in the vast majority of cases, it's not close to which I think is interesting. The couple of expression found this to be hard to say this a lot of specific analysis, so we didn't look for DHS in one level versus another one, in part because there are still few enough tissues that get DHS across the genome that are correlated, and so you will see a correlation with trial method. I think it's maybe limited by just a pure number of tissues rather than a genuine correlation, so it would be very difficult to persuade yourself that the trial association versus this one will be meaningful. So when it comes to the number of genes, if I had one number of DHS, so you might see the risk profile, like I have an idea of what you're seeing, because in the example, it shows always one DHS that's dominant, one gene that's dominant. I rarely can see a risk profile seeing one DHS, one gene, quite good behavior, so whatever that's the case or not. So the median distribution, I skipped over it really quickly because that's just a summary figure in the paper. The mean number of DHS that we prioritize with more than 10% of the posterior on each one is 3 per locus, and that's pretty clean across diseases. There are loci where it's substantially more, and those either something is going on that we don't really understand, or the model's wrong, or both, but in general we can get down to around 3 or 4, a handful per locus. In 60 to 65% of cases, yes. In the others, we can't really prioritize a single gene, and there's usually 2 genes or 3 genes that have equal evidence, and the rest of the genes don't. And so if those... Alright, let's get started for the next session. As you know, we've moved the table down a little bit to have a little more room to move around in. Almost all these tables have power now, or power strips, and now you set up around them from when you're by, or share your power if you need it. Sometimes it's around the table, so if you look under your table. A couple people have had some issues with the Wi-Fi. Pretty much everyone should be on. If you have any trouble, talk to me or talk to Chris, or find someone else in the BCC, we can take one. Speaker in this session is Yuping Wang from the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. She's the ENCODE head of the Data Analysis Center. She's going to talk about the ENCODE encyclopedia.
Okay, so let me get started. So we ENCODE, as you may realize, stands for the Encyclopedia of DNA Elements, and we're going to talk about the E in ENCODE. So you have heard from Mike Tyson about the goals, and I'm just going to go give you a little bit of the structure. So in ENCODE, we have excellent data producing groups, and then data coordination center who organizes this meeting, and the data analysis center basically takes the data and try to, one of our goals is to build the encyclopedia, which is more like synthesize the version of data and try to play with very closely with the data and try to be very intuitive and try to be easy to interpret. So you can access ENCODE encyclopedia from this tab from the ENCODE portal, and if you click about, you will see the introduction. So we organize the encyclopedia into 3 levels, and the ground level, the middle level, and the top level. So a little closer up, the ground level is really close to data, and this level is a little higher information, and the top level is even more information. And today I'm going to very quickly go through the components of the encyclopedia, but very much of my talk will be focused on a few things from each level. For example, I will spend a few more slides talking about social factor chip techniques, a tool that we have used to visualize them, and then how we build color-like regions and enhancer-like regions in a cell-type specific manner. And lastly, I will spend more time talking about how to link in enhancer-like regions with targeting. So just a quick going through about what components are in each level. As I said earlier, the ground level feeds right directly from experimental data, and we try very hard working with the CDC data coordination center to build uniform processing pipelines, and then we run the raw data through these pipelines, and we detect annotations such as the peak of social factor binding, the peak of teasel mark enrichment, and gene expression classification. And so one component is gene expression. So you have copies to all these slides, and in these slides, we show you that which ENCODE groups produce these data, and which ENCODE groups work on data visualization or analysis. So I'm not going to go due to the time, interest of time, and I'm not going to name everybody, but you can see that which groups are contributing which components. So for example, you can see that gene expression, you can see all the cell types, and then for a particular gene, how the expression pattern is like. And for transcription factor binding, we have many ChIP-seq data, and I will spend a few slides talking about a tool we have built in my lab for visualizing aggregate chips, which are enriched genomic regions that are bound by transcription factors. And so this tool is called Vectorbook, so you can access it through vectorbook.org, and you also get connected directly from the ENCODE portal. So the goal is to visualize summarized data centered on visual TF, and such summarized data becomes easy to access, easy to see on the genome browser, and then we also type them with histone profiles, sequence of chiefs, and heat maps of these chiefs across the whole genome. So it's a TF-centric view, and we hope to build the same process for ChIP-seq of histone and DNA data set as well. So if you look at Vectorbook, you can have a glance as to how many ChIP-seq TF data sets the ENCODE consortium has produced, hundreds of data sets, and then you can browse factor by factor, and when you go into each page of the factor, you can see the 3D structure, give you the function information, and a link to external resources. And then if you take all the ChIP-seq chiefs across the genome, we show aggregate plots, like how does each kind of histone mark look like in the vicinity of these ChIP-seq TF chiefs. And we also have data for histone profiles in two cell types, and you can also see them. We separate the ChIP-seq chiefs into two groups, transcription start site, TSS proximal and TSS distal regions, and you can see they have pretty distinct different profiles for the histone occupancy. And you can also look at the enrichment of sequence motifs in these ChIP-seq chiefs. We show top 5 chiefs. We show top 5 motifs. This is motif 1. And we filter our data so you can see all 5 motifs that are enriched in this case in BAC1 ChIP-seq chiefs. And then these two we think are more likely to be biologically meaningful, and those may be false positives. So we should keep them in case they are cofactors motifs. And this is the heat map I mentioned earlier. So each column is a ChIP-seq chief, and then the entire heat map is all the ChIP-seq chiefs across the entire genome. So this is TIFF TF, in this case BRAC1, and then you can look at all these ChIP-seq chiefs for BRAC1 and see whether or not there are histone marks around these chiefs across the genome that are correlated with the ChIP-seq of BRAC1 or other TF types. So that's just a very quick summary as to one method for visualizing these ChIP-seq chiefs. And go back to the ground level annotation, we also have a lot of histone mark ChIP-seq data, and we also detect chiefs using these data sets. And you have heard DNA-seq data, we also detect chiefs, and also DNA tiny footprints from these data. And one job reference group produces high-C data from high-C, which is competent structure data, and you can analyze them and then derive topologically associated domains. You have TAD and then compartments. So you can show here, these are TAD boundaries in green, and then the compartments in red and blue. We also have shear pad data, and from shear pad data you can derive links between promoters and distal regulatory elements, visualized as loops here. And we also have a lot of DNA RNA binding protein occupancy data produced by eCLIP-seq, and then from eCLIP-seq you can see these chiefs and then also binding sites. So that just summarizes all the ground level annotations, and you can go in and look at each one and download them. They are all available from the ENCODE portal. So this includes the middle level annotations, and the middle level annotations integrate multiple types of experimental data and ground level annotations. And I'm going to focus on 2 types of middle level annotations. One is to predict intensified regions using biochemical data. Very specifically, among the many types of biochemical data we have in ENCODE, there are DNA-seq and then a whole battery of histone marked ChIP-seq data. And upon analysis of individual types of these data, we found that 2 of them stand out, DNA-seq and H3K27AC ChIP-seq, to be excellent marks for intensive activity. So we analyzed different methods to try to combine these 2 types of data to see how we can best predict intensive regions. And we want the method to be unsupervised because we want the method to be applicable to a large number of cell types. So the rationale is that we will use the very rich matrix of histone mark and DNA data built from mouse, because we have a number of histone modification ChIP-seq data by US Lab, and we have RNA-seq data, we have DNA methylation, we have DNA-seq on a whole matrix of mouse development, and we have run this data through the uniform processing pipeline. So here is the whole matrix of data, and the columns indicate developmental time points, and the rows indicate cell type. So as you can see that for E11.5, we have a number of cell types for which we have both H3K27AC and DNA available in the same cell type. So we decided to combine the data available in cell type along with experimental evaluation of enhancers generated by Len Panafiel's group integrated into this database. So we can compare these data with functional data to see what kind of model is best in predicting enhancer relationships. So a little bit of data. So it's mouse transgenic assay. So you take clips of DNA and then you inject into mouse embryo, and with a reporter, so you see which cell type the reporter is expressed. That will indicate enhancer activity in that specific cell type. So we have over 2,000 regions that have been tested, and so for several tissue types such as limb, brain, cell regions, there are over 200 active enhancers. So we decided to combine these with ENCODE ChIP-seq data and then compare to see which model works best. So these are different regions. You can see that forebrain enhancers start having forebrain, and midbrain enhancers start having midbrain, so on and so forth. So in model testing, we considered a number of options. So if you want to detect enhancer-like regions, as I said earlier, DNA and H3K27AC chiefs work really well. But how do we center our predictions? Do we center on DNA-seq, or do we center on different domains? This question actually came up earlier, I think during the talk. Some minorian asked have you used histone mark. So we consider which one works better. So how do we rank these genes? Do we rank them by p-value? Do we rank them by ChIP-seq or DNA-seq raw signal? Do we incorporate additional signals such as DNA methylation, artificial mark? So we use the enhancer, at least the enhancer data set to evaluate all these options. So we can come up with a model and then predict the genes and compare with Visa regions to see whether or not they are true positives, they are false positives, or negatives. Obviously, because the Visa enhancer regions are relatively few compared with all possible regions in the genome that could be enhancers, so we don't really have a good handle in true negatives. But these other three evaluations we can make pretty well. So because we don't really have a good handle on true negatives, we use this precision and recall evaluation. Precision is an evaluation of among all the predictions you can make, what percentage of them are actually true. Recall is just sensitivity. Among all the Visa enhancers, how many of them your model can capture. And this PR curve is particularly relevant in genome-wide predictions when the fraction of positives is very small, much less than 50%. So we get a curve, and then as you can see here, there are 5 different ways of evaluating how you score these genes, and the blue curve behaves the best on the top, and that is an average rank of DNA signal and the 870 signal. So this is a very, very simple model and easy to interpret and easy to apply to multiple data sets. So at the end, we decided to center our predictions of enhancer-like regions on DNA genes. They work better than if we do that on T7 genes. And we also found that using our training and testing sets, incorporating additional data, we can significantly improve performance using our test set, because we really want to stick with a highly interpretable model and easy model, so we decided to use these other additional information out and for the testing. So how does the model work? You take DNA sheets in a particular cell type, and then you look at the signal, measure the signal, and then you also take T27A from the same cell type, and you take the windows. So you have mentioned earlier that very often you observe DNA signal in the trough of T27A signal. So the combination of these two is particularly powerful. And we get a rank, and then we average the rank. And the average rank is basically our prediction as to how likely a region is enhancer-like. So we annotate this region with a DNA peak in the middle and then the entire region according to H3K27 peak. So you can visualize. So this is an example of such an enhancer-like region in NeuroTube, and you can see that this region has been tested using reporter function genetic assay and defined up in NeuroTube, and the prediction is spot on, and you can see this very beautiful signal between K27AC and the DNA, and this indicates that it's a very strong prediction. So we applied very quickly, we applied a very similar approach to predict enhancer-like promoter-like regions, and in this case we are trying to predict gene expression. So we also use the same approach to evaluate different models, and we looked at all kinds of signal marks and the DNA, and we want to apply the method as many cell types as possible. So here we're trying to predict the expression of a gene, and we rank the expression, and then we can rank them by each possible signal mark or DNA, and see which one works the best. So in this example, you can see that each dot here is a gene, and H3K4MB3 is very good in predicting expression, and you get R square of 0.63. DNA by itself is not as good as H3K4MB3. R square is only 0.37. H3K27AC signal by itself is also not as good as H3K4MB3. But very similarly, as we found out, if you combine H3K4MB3 signal with a healthy dose of DNA signal, you can improve the correlation to R square of 0.65, and also get a lot fewer times